Welcome to Drop of Water of Origin, where you are listened to and healed from within. Hello, you who are here, you who carry silent wounds and long to be understood. Thank you for choosing to stop at Dr. Green Living, where we not only share about nutrition and green living, but also walk together on a journey of deep healing from the soul. If what you are about to read below feels a little familiar, like gently touching a scar that you thought had healed, then please stay, because you are not alone. And if you find this article meaningful to you, do not hesitate to follow, subscribe to the channel, and share to spread love to the souls that need to be touched. Silent wounds. Have you ever sat across from someone who used to be your whole world, a close friend, a sibling, or even a very close colleague, but felt something vague and hard to name? They still smile, still call you by your familiar, affectionate name, still send you affectionate looks. But something has changed. Maybe it's the hug that's no longer warm enough, the eyes that suddenly avoid you, or the strange silence in the middle of a seemingly friendly conversation. At first, you might have dismissed that feeling. You might have told yourself, I must be sentimental, I must be too tired, or I must be thinking too much. But you know what? There's one thing that never lies to you: your intuition, that feeling that flickers and then quietly dissipates like smoke in your heart, is sometimes the first sign that something is off track in a healthy relationship. In Buddhist philosophy, it is called wordless energy, because sometimes the greatest hurt does not come from harsh words or cruel actions, but from indifference, like a dewdrop. It gradually seeps into you, and one day you realize that your heart is closing, no longer trusting like before. Maybe it's a half-hearted smile, a compliment that comes off as sarcastic, or a lack of interest when you share something important. These seemingly small signs are signs, not to make you doubt others, but to learn to listen to yourself. You know, energy doesn't lie. It's there in every glance, in every touch, in every silence between two people. And if you feel unsafe around someone, even if your mind can't explain it, then it's likely that your soul sees something your eyes can't. When you always have to adjust yourself to fit other people's emotions, always have to be cautious, in every word, every action, then ask yourself, are you being true to yourself? Or are you just existing to not make someone uncomfortable? In an ideal world, relationships are places where we can be ourselves, accepted and supported. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the people you think are closest to you are the ones who instill your most subtle insecurities. You still remember clearly the time you just got promoted. Your heart was filled with joy. But when you shared, he just said, "Yeah, that's good," with a blank look. Or the time you confidently wore a new outfit, he smiled. "You've changed a lot lately. Are you planning to be a model?" Those sentences seemed like jokes, but they left a cold echo in your heart. We need to learn to distinguish between words and energy. Words can be selected, edited, coated in honey, but energy, well, it cannot be hidden. It will leak out through every gesture, every frown, every involuntary sigh. If you've ever felt like after talking to someone, you've become smaller, like your energy has been drained, like you have to shrink yourself to fit the other person's emotions, then you're in an unhealthy relationship, a relationship where you're not allowed to shine. That's what today's video and this entire series invites you to embark on, a journey of revisiting familiar connections that are riddled with hidden conflicts. Not to blame, but to understand and make more conscious choices for ourselves. Not everyone close to us is sincere, and not all insecurities are due to overthinking. Sometimes your soul is knocking very softly. Hey, something is not right, pay attention. And you know what? You have the right to live in emotional safety. You have the right to be loved without having to please anyone. And you have the right to leave a relationship that makes you constantly ask for permission to be yourself. Sign 1. When compliments make you sad. Have you ever received a compliment, and instead of feeling encouraged, you felt your heart sink? Maybe it was a passing remark like, "You've been so popular lately, you must be famous soon." Or more gently, "You look so radiant. You must be very happy to dress up like this." It sounds friendly, even playful. But why does it feel like you're being pushed back? Why does your heart shrink a little and a feeling indescribable arise inside you? The answer lies in the deeper levels of emotions, where words cannot hide the true energy behind them. In Buddhism, there is a profound wisdom that says, words are just the cover, but energy is the real soul. A person may use sweet words to mask feelings of jealousy, envy, or insecurity. They smile at you, but their eyes don't meet. They say kind things, but you don't feel the warmth, because their energy, even disguised by charming jokes, is a distorted current that your heart can sense. You are not weak when you feel hurt. You are not overly sensitive. On the contrary, you are listening to the whisper from within, the intuition that we are all born with, but few dare to trust completely. Those sour compliments can make you feel too different, too special, or too distant from the people you are closest to, and over time you begin to withdraw, share less, express less, dare to be fully happy less. Why? Because of the fear of those strange eyes, because of the obsession that I am making others feel uncomfortable. But my friend, your light is not something to apologize for. Shining is not a mistake, and no one should make you feel guilty for living your true beauty. You have the right to accept compliments without embarrassment. You deserve compliments that are greeted with admiration and joy, not with a half smile and a negative sentiment. Sign 2, when you're happy. But they're silent. Do you remember the last time you felt truly happy? Maybe it was when you got a promotion, finished an important project, overcame an old fear, or just woke up one morning feeling light and happy, and you're eager to share it with someone close to you. You send a text, call, meet up, hoping to receive a bright look, a warm smile, or simply a small congratulatory note. That's great, congratulations. But then all you get is a dry nod. Yeah, that's fine. Or worse, they deflect. I did that last year. Yeah, but be careful. Early joy leads to early suffering. And you, still sitting there, still smiling, feel the fire of joy inside you being doused with cold water. Not because they said something cruel, but because their energy is not on your side. In Buddhist wisdom, this is called the shadow ego. When someone is not truly healed, the happiness of others becomes a mirror of their own lack. And instead of rejoicing, they withdraw, become silent, as if what you just shared is something that overshadows them. You might be asking, am I asking too much? It's just a congratulation. Why is it so important? But the truth is, sharing joy is a sacred form of connection. When you open up to someone, you're giving them a piece of your light. And if they can't receive it, you have every right to feel sad. Worse, some people don't just stay silent. They intentionally try to dampen you with advice, doubt, and even negation of your accomplishments. They don't do this out of malice, but out of unnamed insecurity. Thang, if you ever feel that every time you shine, they secretly try to extinguish that light, then maybe that person is not really willing to accompany you on your journey of development. You are not wrong to want to share. You are not selfish in wanting others to be happy. You are simply living in the natural connection of a loving heart. Remember, your light doesn't need permission to be present, and your joy doesn't need to shrink just because someone is upset. True, happiness does not need loud applause, but it deserves to be heard with all the heart. Sign 3, intimate only, when no one else is around. There's a kind of relationship that makes your heart flutter and you don't know what to call it. It's when someone is so close to you, they're warm, caring, listening, comforting, but only when it's just the two of you. But when a large group appears, or even just a third person, they suddenly change. There are no more affectionate eyes, no more responses when you speak, no more nods of agreement or smiles of companionship. You start to feel like you're being pushed aside. You talk, they interrupt. You share, they stay silent. Or worse, they join in with everyone else, making you feel small among the people who used to be so close to you. Buddhist wisdom explains that when the ego is not healed, people will fear losing their position, losing favorable views, and unconsciously, they choose to put you down, not by direct criticism, but by deliberate ignorance, not by strong action, but by subtle cold distance. You're not wrong to feel hurt, and you're not wrong to start doubting the intimacy you once had, because a true relationship doesn't need to be hidden when others witness it. True feelings don't change with the number of people around. If you find yourself being loved in the shadows, only acknowledged when no one else or is around, then perhaps it's time to quietly ask yourself, is this relationship built on trust, or is it just conditional ownership? Some people are only willing to give you their intimacy when no one is watching, because they fear you'll be too visible, too popular. And as a defensive reaction, they avoid publicly showing their attachment to you, as if acknowledging you will make them less visible. You have the right to refuse to accept the kind of love that withdraws when the lights are on. You have the right to withdraw from interactions that make you feel like a second-hander in your own story. Because someone who truly loves you doesn't need you to turn off the lights for them to shine. They will invite you to step onto the stage together, to shine together. No competition, no comparison, just companionship. Sign 4. When they copy you. But don't acknowledge it. At first, it feels great. You share a favorite book, and they read it too. You try a new diet, and they follow suit. You post a status, and the next day, they post something similar. You think, wow, this is great. We have a connection. But then over time, something starts to feel off. Not because they copy you, but because they never once mention you as an inspiration. They don't publicly express their gratitude. They don't invite you to join them on their creative journey. Instead, they retell what you've shared as if it were their own discovery. They take your energy and use it as a backdrop for their image. And quietly, you feel erased. Buddhist wisdom calls this a subtle form of possessiveness by the unhealed ego. When someone has a huge void of feeling unworthy inside, they will try to compensate by absorbing the light from others. But because the ego is still there, they cannot, and do not want to, admit that they are being supported by others. They like your light, but they can't stand the fact that you own it. So they borrow, but don't credit. They repeat, but don't cite. They build their own image on your ideas, but make you feel like you're worthless. The most painful thing is not being imitated. It's being rejected in your very existence. That feeling is not only exhausting, but it can also make you question your own worth. You may have thought, am I overdoing it? Am I being selfish for wanting validation? No, you don't need praise, but you do deserve respect. A healthy relationship doesn't make you a stand-in for someone else's role. It invites you to step into the light as a companion, an inspiration, a spiritual friend. If you find that every time you create something, someone else quietly reproduces it as their own, without a word of thanks, without a glance of acknowledgement, then maybe you need to step back. Not because you're angry, but because you need to save your light for where it belongs. Sign 5. When you open your heart, the story becomes someone else's. Have you ever been there? One day, you find the courage to open up, to share something that makes you happy. Maybe it's a small dream you've been harboring, a new hope, or just the joy of overcoming an old fear. But just a few seconds later, the person opposite interrupted. Oh, just like when I used to do this. And then the conversation took a different turn. No longer friends at all. The story you just opened, like a fragile door, has been pushed back. The joy you just brought has been covered by a bigger, more dramatic, more significant story. And you quietly retreated, saying nothing more. Worse, there are times when you share a sadness, a wound, something that keeps you awake, but instead of being listened to, you receive a comparison in return. Oh my God, that's nothing to me. I've had worse things happen to me. Instead of being supported, your emotions are denied. You are not seen, not heard, not allowed to exist in your own mind. At first, you may try to understand, think that the person is just sharing empathy. But when it happens repeatedly, you will see clearly they are not staying with you. They are just waiting for their turn to speak. They are not listening to understand. They are listening to respond. Buddhism teaches that the ego that is not looked at squarely will always want to take center stage. Insecure people are always looking for attention. They can't stand to be seen, even for a moment. So they talk more, talk louder, talk noisily. Not because they don't care about you, but because they haven't learned to let others be themselves. If you find yourself talking less and less, not wanting to share more and more, having to ask permission more and more to have space for your own joys and sorrows, then it's not that you're more sensible. It's that you're withdrawing because of the unconscious cover-up from others. A healthy relationship doesn't have you fighting for time to speak. It's where every emotion, no matter how small, is greeted with a gentle gaze. Where you are present, no excuses, no proof. You have the right to tell your whole story, without interruption, without comparison, without the spotlight being taken away. Sign 6, when advice makes you doubt yourself. I just want the best for you. I'm worried about you, so I said that. This is a bit risky. You should think it over carefully. Have you ever heard these comments? They seem like they come from a place of concern, but strangely, when you hear them, you don't feel uplifted. You feel depressed. You begin to doubt yourself. The plan you were so passionate about just now seems fragile. The dream you cherished suddenly seems distant. And the question echoes in your mind. Am I blind? Am I really as immature as they think? Buddhism teaches the energy is not in the words, it is in the vibrations that the words emit. Some advice comes not from a place of peace, but from a place of insecurity. The person giving you advice doesn't really see you. They only see their own fear reflected in you. Because if you dare to change, dare to do something different, dare to step out of your comfort zone, they are forced to face things that they themselves do not dare to do. And instead of encouraging you, they advise you to slow down, settle down, be more sure. Not because you're not good enough, but because the light of confidence in you shakes their false sense of stability. This is easy to misunderstand. You may think they love you because of the gentle tone of their voice and the loving gaze, but you forget that true love expands you, not shrinks you. Someone who truly loves you will make you see yourself more clearly, not make you feel like you need permission to continue on your own path. If after each piece of advice, you find yourself retreating, your dreams shrinking, your inner fire weakening, then you are receiving energy that weakens your inner strength, not a loving reminder. You have the right to choose your own path. You have the right to walk it, even if no one agrees with you. And you have the right to keep believing in yourself, because that is the most honest compass on the journey to maturity. No one should make you ask for permission to be yourself. Sign 7. When apologies are not meant to heal, but just to keep you silent. Sorry if you feel hurt. I didn't mean it. You're just too sensitive. There's nothing to be sad about. You're making a big deal out of it. Those words, at first, sound kind. But why do you still feel cold inside? Because in fact, they are not an apology. They are a way of denying responsibility under the guise of politeness. It's not a cure. It's a strategy to end the conversation, to stop feeling, stop asking questions, stop talking about your pain. According to Buddhist philosophy, a sincere apology needs 3 elements. Mind knows error, clear apology, specific change actions. If one of these 3 things is missing, an apology is just lip service without any transformative energy. You've probably been there, hurt by the actions, words, or attitudes of someone you trust. And then, instead of being heard, you're turned around. You, the emotional victim, become the one who has to apologize for feeling so much. Over time, you begin to doubt yourself. Maybe I'm just sensitive. Am I making a big deal out of this? I don't think anyone will apologize, so let it go. So you do the usual thing. Swallow your feelings, forgive unconditionally, and let the other person continue to behave as before. But that, my friend, is not forgiveness. That is self-denial to protect an imbalanced relationship. That is when you take on the emotional responsibility of both people, just to keep the other person happy. You deserve better than that. You deserve an apology with a look in your eye, a heart that truly feels sorry, and most importantly, a change in behavior afterward. If someone always makes you feel sorry back every time they hurt you, they're not really sorry. They're just upset that you spoke up. Their silence does not invalidate your feelings. You don't need an apology to acknowledge your pain, and you certainly don't need to apologize for feeling hurt. Conclusion: step out in silence. Keep your own light. Sometimes, what hurts the most isn't the obvious behavior, but the silent signals. The averted gaze when you're happy, the sweet compliment that leaves you cold, the lukewarm hug when you need protection, or the apology that makes you feel like you're the one who's wrong. The hardest thing isn't leaving. It's realizing that you've stayed too long in unhealthy relationships. Have you ever wondered, am I overreacting? Am I being too sensitive? But now you understand that your feelings aren't wrong. You're not weak for feeling hurt. You're just being honest with your heart, and that's incredibly brave. Together, we've gone through 8 subtle, yet sharp signs that indicate jealousy, envy, hurt, and unhealed ego can lurk in even the most seemingly intimate relationships. In Buddhism, there is a very enlightening teaching that not everyone who comes into our lives is meant to stay. Some come to support us, some come to challenge us. But all are there to help us learn to love ourselves more deeply. Loving yourself doesn't mean sticking around at all costs. It means knowing when to keep your distance and when to walk away. Not in resentment, not in anger, but in clarity and compassion for yourself. You have the right to say no without apologizing. You have the right to succeed without hiding your light. You have the right to quietly walk away from a relationship that makes you feel small. And most importantly, you can withdraw without any guilt. Listen to your body. If you always feel tired after meeting someone, if you feel empty when you leave them, it's not a coincidence. It's your inner voice. It's your soul speaking. This place is no longer suitable for your heart to stay. Starting today, start protecting your light with silence. No need to shout. No need to cut through the noise. Just step back in peace. You don't have to be tough to be loved. You don't have to suffer to be kept. Just be yourself. Genuine, radiant, and compassionate. And then you will begin to attract relationships that are as bright as you are, where there is no darkness of jealousy, only the light of support and understanding. Thank you for joining Dr. Green Living on this journey of awakening. If this article has touched your heart, please share, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. Your story may help someone else feel less alone on their own healing journey. See you in the next content, where we continue to nurture light, greenness, and life from within.